Gunther may be the most feared hitman working in the industry today. If you want to be king, you have to kill the king.
Everyone knows who he is.
Gunther.
Gunther.
Gunther's.
Where is Gunther?
I'm right here. Guess who?
He's the greatest hitman ever.
Bullseye.
I will be the guy who killed Gunther. I put together an unstoppable team.
Just erase that.
I'm Donald Pisnowski. We're Boom Boom. I'm trying to get that started.
Boom goes the dynamite.
My name is Sanat Perusa. My first professional kill was at the age of 8.
Did you see that shot? That's my little girl!
Things is that I crush things.
And then there's our secret weapon.
The friggin' Bella Kolikova twins!
We love it here.
Oh, I need to find a window.
When I found out that there were a bunch of assassins trying to kill me, I got pissed off.
Been a bit of a rocky start. I want to kill him even more now. That's the offer.
We're in way over our heads.
FBI, I would like to report a hitman.
You ratted me out to the FBI?
Yes.
I am going to kill him.
Well, you're gonna try to kill him again.
Give me the bazooka, will you?
We gotta be on our toes. Okay, I think it's done.
They're gonna get terminated, that I can tell you. Go ahead, kill me!
Hello. Thanks for being here.
I have not seen this poster yet.
Yeah,
this
isn't this
poster
great?
rules.
Isn't this beautiful?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
amazing. Who made this?
I can tell you afterwards. I
sorry,
forget. No, it's a beautiful, incredible artist, and I follow him on Twitter, and I am blanking on his name because I'm a horrible person.
really cool, man.
But when I saw this, I was so excited.
I feel like if you make a movie like Kiling Gunther, this is sort of the prize.
Yeah,
for making
exactly.
It's a poster like this.
100%. Yeah, everybody wants a copy. It's very Drew Struzan sort of inspired, seemingly. But yeah, no, I love it.
So let's go back to the beginning of Kiling Gunther. Okay. When did you start writing this? When did you come up with the idea?
It was sort of the summer of my second season on SNL, and wanted to write something that would appeal to me, that would be different from what was out there and what was being offered. And I love action movies. I love Michael Mann films, Luc Besson, Quentin Tarantino, but I'm a doof. So I also
What's the difference between a doof and a goof?
A goof is more clownish, and I think a doof is more like airheaded bro-ish.
Got it. For future reference.
Yeah. Just a catalog. Yeah, so I love mockumentary films. Spinal Tap and Waiting for Guffman are some of my favorite comedies of all time. So I knew I wanted to do it in that style, that structure of film, but maybe explore a different topic or genre within that format.
Mm-hmm. Which would be the hitman
The
genre.
hitman genre, yeah. The action hitman mockumentary genre.
What were some of the biggest difficulties of sort of writing a hitman-style mockumentary and consistently keeping it, while hilarious, kind of grounded and feeling like it could still be a documentary?
Yeah, well, A Mighty Wind, the Christopher Guest, Eugene Levy film, is one of my faves because it's hilarious and it's absurd and it's very over the top, but the sincerity in it, especially the moment between Catherine O'Hara's character and Eugene Levy's character, where they're finally singing "Kiss at the End of the Rainbow," makes me cry every time. It's so beautiful and sentimental, and I love that swing. I love attempting that swing, at least. I think the original Office did it so well, where you're laughing at the absurdity of Ricky Gervais, but then you actually care about the Tim and Don relationship. So that was important to me. What was tricky with an action movie, mockumentaries are normally set up for funny people to just improvise and be loose, and you kind of keep a narrative structure, but then can play with the details therein. And I wanted to do that, but it's also very hard to do that when you're blowing up 7 cars on a street. You can't really, be loose and just wing it.
What street was that? Was that in New York?
It's in Cloverdale. No, it's in BC, Canada. We shot in Vancouver. Wow. Yeah. So in starting to outline it, I was like, I'm probably just gonna have to write a script, and then in the quieter moments, let my friends play.
So how often do you get to let them play?
In the quieter moments. Anytime, like any
interviews
any testimonial, any sort of contained scene, any interior where there wasn't special effects or stunts happening, then it would be much looser.
Did anybody along the way, I mean, you've mentioned all the Christopher Guest mockumentaries, tell you to watch Man Bites Dog?
As I started writing it,
did you watch it?
I did, yes, yeah, and it's a similar vibe for those of you who have not seen Man Bites Dog.
But
it's
way
French. It's
darker.
so dark. It's so dark. It is a documentary crew following around this like hitman, like one hitman who's like, come around and meet my parents. This is my neighborhood, and then like is murdering people right in front of them, and then getting them involved in drugs and criminal. It's super dark.
Yeah.
This is a little more lighter fare.
I was wondering when I was watching, I was like, I wonder if in doing research for this, someone
Yes.
was like, go watch Man Bites Dog, and you're like, not my
Yeah.
tone, not what I'm going for.
Exactly. Like it was interesting to see, certainly, because there's still a darkness to it, right?
And
There's
also
still
the engagement
violence
with
in
the
there.
crew and how the crew gets involved in the violence.
The
and stuff.
camera becoming its own character. No, 2 things happened literally as I was writing this. Man Bites Dog was suggested to me, and once I finished the script and was trying to get it sold or get it produced, What We Do in the Shadows came out. And it was sort of something to kind of point to and go, yes, see, heightened genre in that mockumentary style. That's what I'd love to kind of play with. That's sort of what I'm attempting to do.
What was the process like in terms of getting it sold and getting it made? This is your first film as a director.
Yeah.
You had already written a film that got made. I mean, it hadn't
Correct.
gotten made yet, probably. Like, I bet these were made around the same time or just before this.
This was after Brother Nature, which we got to do a rewrite for. I'd had several screenwriting gigs, paid gigs, but yes, in terms of producing a film that I was going to perform in and that I wrote from scratch, and then eventually came to the decision to direct just because I was living with it and had sort of a vision for it, and was just the only one who would be there for every pitch, every beg, every plea. And we eventually got partnered with this company, Starstream Media, who said, yeah, we can make this. I wanted to do it very small initially. It was just going to be me and my friends, because all my friends are comedy nerds, and they're not going to get to play action assassins ever unless we did it ourselves. So it started that way, and as soon as Schwarzenegger agreed to come and play the villain, it shifted a little bit, got a little bit bigger. But
Did they tell you that they were going out to Schwarzenegger, or was it like, hey, got some news for you?
They they pitched him to us, and were like, Schwarzenegger's looking to do something like this. And I was like, yeah, right. No way. And they said, no, yeah, he's gonna read the script over the weekend and he'll call you. And it was like the craziest thing to be like, one, that's dumb and insane because he's the biggest action movie star of all time, and 2, you're gonna give him my number? and so I remember I was like at SNL, and Schwarzenegger FaceTime comes up because he doesn't like to talk on the phone. And so, like, it pops up, and he's like, hey, Taran, how are you?
Wait,
I read the script.
Does he say that he doesn't like to talk on the phone? Is he like?
Yeah, he'll only FaceTime me. And now I FaceTime him kind of like once a week to update him for like social media posts, which is pretty great, because he's like, hey, are we doing a Snapchat today? Or what's the hashtag? I love the motion GIF.
Where did the idea for the costumes come for him and his makeup, his hair, and everything?
Yeah, it was a look that I found. There's a street style icon is how he is listed in the material. This guy Nick Wooster, and if you look him up, it's very much this. And he's like a New York fashionista kind of guy. Like he's been a consultant for different companies, and he just rocks the most heightened arch style that works and can pull it off. So that was the inspiration. And we had 2 costume designers, Reiko Schoenfeld and then Ariana Price up in Canada, who did such a great job for us.
What was the hardest part about directing your first movie?
Oh man, just time management, right? It's just scheduling.
You're writing, directing, starring.
Yeah, and yeah. So if you're just directing, you show up and you can dress however you want. You sit behind the camera and you're focused on the technical aspects of it, right, and telling the story. But I would have to get there a little bit earlier to get dressed, go through the works, then come on set. So it was just. It was just consuming. It was just fully consuming. But that's what I asked for.
You have to prep really hard so that basically
Yes.
you can come to set a little bit later and everybody knows exactly what to do before you get there.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and Dan Katzman, our first AD, was really great about going location scouting and revisiting the site before we were there and prep. And it really helped.
Did you have that feeling when you were directing scenes that you weren't in? There are a few moments where you're not. I mean, mostly I think with Arnold at one point there's some great montage moments with him that you're not necessarily in. When you would finish shooting those, did you ever walk away and be like, oh God, why did I put myself?
100%. I'm in sweats. I'm in sweats and like a Rams hat and just comfy clothes. Nothing matches. I'm like not clean.
You're a big Rams fan, right?
I'm a huge LA Rams fan.
You tweet
yeah.
you tweet about the Rams all the time.
I certainly do.
I have seen that.
Yeah. Any Rams fans? No? Well, we're in New York. Any Giants fans? Oh, boy. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, guys. Yeah. I promised myself now probably 19, 20 years ago that as soon as LA got a team again, I was going to go all in.
How are you handling football this season?
Well, I am enjoying it. We're doing better. We're still 3-2, but I think we have a shot of having a winning season, which feels great. I won't be so bold as to say we'll make the playoffs. Literally, everybody's falling asleep. Yeah, but I'm very excited. I'm shooting a movie in Atlanta right now. I'm shooting this Kevin Hart movie, Night School. So I haven't been at all of the games, which I would be if I were in Los Angeles. But I've been to 4.
Would you say that you are not that you would want to limit or categorize yourself that you are primarily a comedic actor and writer, and that it was almost like a sort of a weird thing that you ended up in 12 Years a Slave?
It's interesting. I would say.
Because I thought you were phenomenal in 12 Years a Slave.
Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. It is an odd thing because it was, I think, around the time I started writing this, I just went in for an audition and the director, Steve McQueen, liked my take. And but it is unexpected. It's off course for what is expected of you coming from SNL. And that's kind of just been my journey, for lack of a better word, because I started going to school. I started training for musical theater, actually. That's what I went to college
Little Shop
for.
of Horrors with Jake Gyllenhaal, right?
Exactly, yeah. And then got to do Hamilton January through April, which was really fun. Yeah. It was awesome. So it's been weird. It's been where I'm going to do musical theater, and then I got Mad TV, and I remember the article had said, like, comedian Taran Killam, and I was like, hold on, let's also talk about my pedigree, please. But yeah, it's something, and I love comedy, and I'm good at it, and will continue to perform and write and create comedic things, but I love so many different things.
Are you primarily a comedy writer when you write? Do you find that whatever you write, you sort of, whether you try to write something serious or not, you end up veering into comedy?
No. I think of the things the stories that speak to me and speak to my heart tend to be much more sentimental, or much more about an adventure as opposed to comedy. In terms
the Goonies.
A Goonie. Well, and even if you look at some of my favorite movies are action adventures where action comedies, where the comedy does come secondary. It's out of the characters, but the situation is very much action or adventure based. Like Ghostbusters, the first Ghostbusters I think works so well is because it's terrifying. It starts out very scary, and the ghosts are there, but there's a real threat of doom, and that you just have, 3 or 4 morons who are the only ones who can save us. And I love that dynamic. I find it very relatable to be a character that's seemingly unworthy or undeserving, asked to accomplish great tasks. Those are the stories that I'm most drawn to.
What's interesting about Ghostbusters is whether the original Ghostbusters would even work now. if it was released as a new movie, because not that
Yeah.
we should really get onto like a dismantling Ghostbusters or talking about.
Yeah.
I love Ghostbusters. I grew up with it, but in rewatching it, it doesn't have massive, broad comic moments, with the exception of the Marshmallow Man at the
Sure.
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It's
Yeah.
mostly loose comic jabs, which
Yes.
big comedies these days, like, you need to have broad, gross
Big
out.
set piece. Yeah, it is. It is interesting. Or or it's just becoming more nuanced. What I'm noticing about comedy is there's so much variety of comedy, right? There still is nuance, jab, quick-witted, bantery thing, shows. I would even say a show that does a great job of kind of holding both is Veep. I think Veep does a wonderful job of being incredibly smart, incredibly insightful, and absolutely blue and ludicrous when it wants to be. But then you have, we're in the era of South Park, which is some of the smartest writing of all time, but also has given us Mr. Hanky the Christmas Pooh. And then there's Tim and Eric, which is stuff I love, the absurd, weird for weird's sake, nothing makes sense, odd, uncomfortable comedy. And there's so many platforms. There's the internet, there's TV, there's satellite, there's streaming, you know what I mean? So it is, it's becoming more refined, I think, in that people can choose their specific flavor, and there's not as many, there's much more competition, as opposed to Ghostbusters, maybe there weren't as many options.
Yeah, that's true. Like, Ghostbusters was probably going up against Witness that year or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Not in terms of the comedy department.
Yeah.
When you finish Killing Gunther, are you in the process of writing something else? Are you pitching now? Are you trying to direct more? Did you enjoy directing?
I did very much, and I've started writing the next thing, and I'm definitely just going to focus on directing this next go around. And I'm very excited I learned so much, right? I'd never directed a feature before. I deferred to my department heads and all of their expertise, and that was my statement to the crew when I started, is all of you have much more experience than me, and I'm going to trust you to know what you're talking about, and know that if I ever push back, it's just because I feel very strong. I'll only do that when it's very important to the project, and I think will help the tone or the joke or the moment. And I got to learn so much that way. I learned so much, and this, done in that mockumentary style, it's a weird thing to be allowed to direct a movie your first time with no experience and go, okay, but I want it to look bad. I want it to look flawed. It's shaky and it's a character and it's its own thing, and you will only do one angle and there won't be coverage.
It goes against everything a crew member has in their heart.
Exactly.
It's really, if any of these guys, if I was like, hey guys, we want this shot to look bad, it's like,
why?
I'm gonna kill you, Ricky.
Then I will leave. And we found a good balance of giving it, my DP, Blake McClure, was awesome and did this great job, I think, of giving it a style, giving it a polished look, but still keeping the sort of frenetic, raw, accidental look that we were going for the mockumentary. The next film, I'm really excited to challenge myself to do it in more of a traditional narrative.
Oh, that's so cool. How has it been writing a traditional narrative?
Easier, because this one, it's not as broad of a comedy. Comedies live or die by laughs. Like, a drama can be quiet through a screening and people will still go, I loved it. But if you sit through a comedy and nobody's laughing, it's not working, right?
That must be the hardest part about being a drama director, is that like no one laughs, so you can't tell by that. But then when they walk out, and you're like, yeah, I liked it a lot. It's like, okay, so I think people liked it. I have no idea.
Exactly, yeah. It's hard to gauge. That's the thing, is like, comedy is, the audience of comedy is honest. You can't help but be.
Yeah. So your next film, is it going to be a drama, or is it going to be like a drama?
No, right now it's going to be a Spanish language Christmas film about immigration.
Oh, unbelievable! That sounds
Or
right up your
quadrant.
alley. That's amazing. So you are 2 years out of SNL at this point, right?
Yeah.
What is that like? Because I find, and I'm doing it right now, but I'm finding a roundabout way of doing it, hopefully. If you've done SNL for a number of years, no matter what you do, you're always going to get asked about SNL. What you think of this season? Do you wish you were there?
Right.
Especially right now with what they have to tackle or what
Sure.
they are tackling. But what is that? Is that something that you're sort of at peace with? That no matter what you're promoting, someone's probably going to be like, hey, what do you think about what's going on with that SNL?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. It will forever be one of the great honors of my career. Having made a film and feeling the accomplishment of that, I'm still very well aware what an accomplishment getting on SNL, let alone being there for 6 years, is. and I'm very proud of it and honored to have been a part of that. It's a very hard job, and I'm very glad to not be tired, to be stressed and tired, and I don't miss the grind aspects of it, but I do miss the people. And what's great, I was just at 30 Rock yesterday, and I got to walk around, and it felt great. It's hallowed ground, and you got to walk around the studio, and I got to say hi to Beck and Kyle and Kate and Nady and see everybody. So you always remain an alumni. It is like this, it's been said many times, but college of comedy. And
do you keep up with the show?
Yeah, I've been watching this year. Yeah.
It's really hard to make fun of this administration, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I know last year was a great year for them because a lot of people watched it. But just for me personally, just from a sensibility standpoint, my favorite stuff is never the timely, topical, whatever. You know what I mean? It's the evergreen sketch. Yeah, exactly. The odd anything Will Forte did. Anything Fred Armisen did, those are my favorite things. Like Kristen Wiig, I think part of her brilliance is that all of her great moments are these just eccentric, odd, like Dunice from who's Lawrence Welk, it's that a mutant woman with a giant forehead and baby doll hands is never not going to be funny. I would bet large sums of money. So that's the stuff that I'm always drawn to, that I always enjoy.
And like even like Kate McKinnon right now with the alien abduction sketch.
Yes, exactly,
or,
exactly.
The sketch where she's at the bar at the end, and which usually
she's
out.
one of the best ever.
Yeah. So with Kiling Gunther, do you feel like? I mean, you did an amazing job. It's an incredibly funny movie. The action sequences are well directed. Do you feel totally comfortable going into directing another movie, or is it a different feeling every time? A different.
No, I will say that I feel like I took to it well, and I was quickly able to define for myself what that role is, which is you're just delegating, right, and you're just kind of holding and managing crisis at all times, and trying to keep channels of communication as open as possible. Then the sort of selfish job is to, hopefully, if you're good at it, conceive of a vision, conceive of tone, conceive of the look and experience of the film, and just help protect that, help it achieve it, and help protect that. And
your character's kind of doing some of that in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, thematically, there's a whole lot going on. The idea of wanting success overnight, wanting to be the best and be the greatest right away, versus someone like Arnold who has earned it over this incredible, you know what I mean? He is literally the definition of discipline and focus and hard work.
And of the American dream as well.
Absolutely. So
he's an immigrant who came here, became the biggest movie star in the world,
Yeah.
and then became
a governor
of California.
Of the third largest state in the union.
Largest economy in the world, I believe, actually, too.
It is. He's unbelievably impressive. And we had fun, and he was very kind and encouraging of me, which will forever mean the world to me, of saying, like, giving me advice, but also acknowledging where my strengths were, and helping me kind of form my own process as a director.
Were you nervous directing him at first?
Always. Still nervous talking to him.
Really?
Always. Yeah. He's Arnold Schwarzenegger. He is Dutch. He's the Terminator. He's one of the, if not the biggest action star of all time. And he is just himself larger than life. He's physically still very muscly, and he has, this iconic voice and this iconic accent.
I found that when you throw his catch lines at him, it's almost like a reflex for him to jump on.
Oh, he knows it.
It's really funny.
And SNL was great training for this. I tried to be as cool as possible. I tried to be like, hey, I'm directing this, and we're bros, and we're peers, and did you get coffee this morning? But then the last day, I asked him to take a Predator arm.
Oh, I made him do that when I interviewed him. Yeah, I have a picture of me and him like this.
And he's like, yeah, of course. And you could tell that he gets that request all the time. And he's like, what's the matter, CIA? Have you pushing too many pencils? Well, look, hey, Dylan. Like, he knew the whole, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that.
So glad you had him do that with you. I
was like, can we do the Dutch and Dylan arm? He's like, yeah, of course. He's doing a number 4. Like, he's got like a chart of like,
But he knows them so well because when I was interviewing him at one point, I was like, "Get to the chopper!" Like I barely even said it, and he went, "Get to the chopper!" Like he gets really excited to do it still.
I think that's part of his appeal, and I'm certain a testament to his success, his extended success, is that he's owning who he is. He knows what his brand is. He knows that people are only saying those lines to him because it means something to him, and they're excited about it, and he kind of revels in that.
What was it like doing a fight scene with him?
The best.
Yeah.
It's the best because it's all about safety. Like the director role came first, and I wanted everybody to be as safe as possible, everybody to understand what's going on. There's going to be glass flying. There's going to be things ripping off. There's going to be explosions or squibs here. And then he got me in touch with his guy he's worked with, Billy Lucas, who helped choreograph that whole kitchen fight scene. And it was great. So I was like working with masters. And then once we're doing it, it's like, oh man, I'm getting beat up by Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is the coolest thing ever.
He's got you pinned on the ground.
Yeah. Do it, I'm right here. Which is another Predator line, is one of my favorites. When he's trying to get him to come into the trap, and the Predator's like, and like looking, he's like, come here, I'm right here, kill me, do it. It's so great. It's so surreal. Like Johnny, I lied. Remember when I said I'd kill you last? I lied.
I eat green berets for breakfast.
He's dead tired.
Yeah.
So good.
Commando, there's lots of better Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, but Commando is my favorite.
Same.
If you throw that movie, I've done a body count on that movie when I was in high school. It's like over 110 people.
It's so impressive because at the island, he's just destroying the island, just bodies flying. Was
that blade saw at the guy?
This was so inspired specifically by Commando, I feel, because there's the whole gun shop sequence that we have, which is very much taken from Commando in that my favorite getting ready montage ever, he drives the truck into the gun store and he loads up and he finds a switch and there's a secret room and he gets 4 missiles and he grabs a bazooka and he gets a big tall knife and he puts it, and then they arrest him.
You know who knows?
And he loses everything he just assembled. They just arrest him and he can't use any of the cool stuff he just gathered.
No one ever talks about how great Rae Dawn Chong is in Commando.
So good.
She's got some great lines in that movie too.
Yeah, and beautiful. And Alyssa Milano. I can't remember it. I love that after he kills that guy, he's like, remember I said I'd kill you last, I lied. Or he goes, remember you said that? And he's like, oh yeah, I lied. And he throws him. He goes
the
and
great
he
David
flips.
Patrick Kelly.
Yeah, Warriors.
Exactly.
He
Sonny.
goes, come out to play. Sonny, yeah. But he goes, and the guy crashed his like little 2-seater Porsche or whatever, convertible, and he just flips it over. he just flips it over. Commando is so good. That opening sequence with him and his daughter eating ice cream.
They feed a deer.
They feed a baby deer. It's great. Like it's so like how to create an endearing father-daughter relationship for dummies.
And his take on Boy, there's like a line about Boy George in the opening as well. He's reading the paper with her and he's like, when I was a boy in East Germany, communists said it was subversive. Huh, maybe they were right. It's such a weird line.
Everybody go home and watch Commando. You won't regret it.
You just watched a reenactment.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, sorry, one more. In the beginning when the guy gets shot with the trash, right?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to forget about me. Don't worry. Oh, I thought you were going to miss me. Don't worry. We won't. They shoot.
So great. So great.
I've burned you out. Next question.
No. I mean, I could go on and on and on because the Commando it's just in the mall when he jumps and grabs on the fabric and swings across. It's so cool.
Yeah. And then he gets hit by the car in the garage. Like
he's unstoppable.
I don't think it's a stunt person. It's clearly Arnold.
Is it him? Oh,
and
I
he's
gotta go.
legit hit by a car.
He's the best, man.
Yeah. Okay, questions, guys.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Yeah.
If anyone wants to know about Commando, we got the answers.
Hi.
Hello. So most people know you for your comedy, but you've also done musical theater. I was wondering if you would ever combine the two.
Certainly, yeah. Mel Brooks did the producers, and they're relaunching Young Frankenstein. I just read. I would absolutely love it. A musical songwriter, Michael Friedman, just passed away recently, unfortunately, and I had the great pleasure and honor of working, of doing like a just a read through He wrote the music for King of Kong Fistful of Quarters. Do you remember that? They turned it into a musical, and it was so funny. It was so great, and it was a great blend of exactly what you're talking about with comedy and singing.
What was it like doing Hamilton?
The best. I felt like a contest winner because it's everybody's favorite show. Everybody wants to see it. I got to see it 8 times a week for 16 weeks. I got to play the funniest and easiest role because it's like 3 songs. You know, I played the king, and the audience is there, and they love it, and they're so excited, and they've spent money, and they've waited for so long. But the cast loves. The cast is still some of the original cast was still there when I started, and they're still backstage singing and dancing and proud to be a part of it. And there's just so much positivity. It was a very positive experience, which was at that time needed for me. It was very cathartic way to kind of come down from SNL, which can be kind of critical and negative and and really competitive. And this was such a nurturing environment, such a sort of safe environment, because also doing the same thing over and over again, that's not an experience I've ever had. With SNL, you do one thing once and it goes on TV, and then you maybe probably don't see it again. This is doing the same thing. I did it 99 times.
I'm curious, you don't have a specific comedy background before you got into comedy, right? It was mostly musical theater. You love comedy. But when you start working on SNL or when you got Mad TV and you're surrounded by comedians, they're a different breed a lot of the time. And I know that's a cliche to say, and I don't mean like the dork clowns. I just mean people who can crank out jokes.
Yes.
It's an interesting thing, and if you're not around them and you start trying to crank out jokes with them, you need to learn.
Yeah. I was always, when I was younger, I was very loud and hyper and full of energy and a mimic, and I could hang, but I certainly didn't have any training. And when I did Mad TV, most of the people who were nice to me and looked out for me and who I respected creatively had come from the Groundlings Theater. So when I left Mad TV, I went back and I started taking classes there, and that's kind of where my real foundation of training happened. Was at that theater, and that's where I was when Lauren came in and saw me and asked me to audition.
So by the time you got SNL, you could hang.
Yeah, I think I've always been able to hang. Stand-up terrifies me. Stand-up, standing in front of people and offering your own ideas, that judgment of your own character terrifies me for whatever reason. I'd much rather hide behind a script and a character and a scene and a story, because for whatever reason, it feels to like, it seems to dilute the judgment, maybe is what it is.
So you didn't like the character, you didn't like me. You
Yeah,
didn't like
exactly,
the story.
exactly. I don't have to, yeah,
Love
if you're not funny, it's just, nope, Taran is just not funny on stage. That's always what I had in my head about that, but.
Next question, right here.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I was wondering, when you're writing, is there any go-to people that you always show your work to kind of bounce ideas off?
Well, that is a wonderful question. I just actually reached out to someone and I haven't heard back, so I'm not gonna say who yet. But I have, the reason I did reach out is because I found that I didn't have a constructively critical voice, right? I had people around me who love me and support me and are going to be kind and possibly less critical than the work needs to be, which is fine because I feel it's just as important to have those people who are like, it's so good, keep going, as it is to have the people who are like, so here's where the problems are and this is why I see them,
It's really hard for your wife or something like that to be
be like, well, it's a little weak, it's a little one-dimensional, and,
How dare you!
Yeah. I want a divorce! No, wait, take me back. No. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me.
You were right. I was just emotional. I was just insecure.
Yeah. I am in the process of finding that. And I mean, talking a little bit about the stand-up of putting this much work into something and putting it out into the world, and even my time at SNL helped me develop a little bit of a thicker skin in knowing that being criticized and being told what you're doing isn't working for whatever reasons, you may not agree with those reasons, or you may find value in them, and that doesn't mean you're not good at it, right? In fact, you need that to get better. So that's something that I've kind of found for myself recently.
At what point in your writing process do you start showing what you're doing to people?
I'm trying to start a little sooner now. I always like to have a finished product because I'm just one of those people who's like, if I handed over an outline, I'm like, well, when I write it, well, let me take that back. Okay, I'll just write out the scene so you can see it before you, because out of fear of failing or being told it's wrong or not good enough.
And then also having something kind of bleed into what you're trying to do, or screw up your momentum that you might have.
Exactly right. But now I'm at a place where I'm a little more comfortable, and I'll do like pages at a time. Like, hey, does this scene feel like this is what I'm trying to accomplish with it? Is it reading that way?
Next question. I think this is our last one. Who's hi. Sorry.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful.
So you mentioned you wrote this during your second season of SNL, and I was just wondering what your writing and revision process was like.
Yeah. It changes, quite honestly, because at SNL, you write down character ideas or one-word concepts, or you try to beat out a scene, or sometimes I'll just dive in and just write the sketch. For me personally, it's easier to have a page. It's easier to have the finished structure, because chunks of paragraphs of an outline, I sometimes lose focus or lose the train of thought. So I like to have 10 pages of the idea of even if say a movie comes to me and I'm like, oh, I like this idea and this scene feels important because this is the inciting incident, like this is where they find out they have powers or whatever. I like to write that out and hold it and live with it, because I'm much better at revision. It's easy to revise. It's so much harder to create in the first place. So I really need to rip the Band-Aid off of get it out there, and then can really take my time with revisions. So that's overall sort of my process, is get it done, just because I'm a procrastinator and I like eating good food and watching movies, and if I could just do that all the time, I would. So getting it done is the hardest part, and in revisions, now in this technological era we live in, you can print out copies of 4 versions and read. You can compare and contrast your own work, which is so helpful, But yeah, does that answer the question, kind of? Yeah. Okay.
Do you write every day? Is it like a habitual thing or like an inspired thing?
I don't actually write. When I do sit down to write, I do try to set a timer to kind of confine me. But I am one who will write out the 5 pages and then go for a walk and then think about it and then live my life for 2 days, and then when I'm at Whole Foods, I'll go like, oh, and then I'm ready to go back and add another 4 pages and then edit the first 4 pages down to 2 pages, and then the next 4 pages, become 1 page, and it keeps getting condensed like that.
So much work.
It's a lot of work.
It's so much work.
It's a lot of work, but it's fun. It's also fun. You know what I mean? It's magical when it works. When it works and it's real, and you're affecting people or affecting yourself. It's magic.
Yeah, just seeing the smile on your face when you heard people laughing at the trailer, it still excites you.
It is, yeah. No, our premiere's on Saturday, and it's the first time I really get to show it to friends and family, and it's going to be in this full theater, and I can't wait. I am hypercritical of myself, but I'm going to give myself Saturday to be like, way to go.
Saturday is your premiere, but when can everybody else see the film?
It is currently available for Ultra VOD, meaning you rent it, but it's in higher price. And then on the 20th, it'll be in select cities and theaters, which is how I hope people go to see it. And then available for rental and ownership on the 20th as well.
Fantastic. Taran, thanks so much for being here. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I
me.
can't wait
Always.
to see more of what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Taran
Thank you,
Killam,
guys.
everybody. Give him a round of applause.
Thank you.